Have you ever wondered whether the problems in the world today would exist if we had deeper connection to ourselves, others, and the environment and acted from that place?
Welcome to the Conscious Action Podcast with your hosts Brian Berneman and Kayla Greenville, who believe that connection is the key to taking conscious action as individuals and creating a better world.
We are here to raise awareness and inspire meaningful action by sharing stories, knowledge, and conversations with thought leaders and change makers.
From sustainability to well-being and everything related to conscious living, our mission is to empower you to be the change that you want to see in the world. Welcome everyone to a new episode of the Conscious Action Podcast. I am Brian Berneman, your host, and for this episode, I have the pleasure to be joined by Lina Montero Soto, all the way here from Auckland as well, but at home, just like we are supposed to be. Lina, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and for sharing with us what I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful conversation. And for everybody that is listening to us, who is Lina?
Well, thank you so much for having me, Brian. It's such a pleasure to see you again. You have been a big influence on my journey. So Lina, I am eco-awkward. That's what I call myself. Essentially, an eco-awkward person is someone like me who used to look at rubbish bins, and I used to have a takeaway coffee cup in my hand and think that that was, good that I would turn up to a recycle rubbish bin, but I still didn't quite know if it was landfill or if you could actually throw it in the cardboard bin as such. And that journey for me started off being a very simple realization that I didn't know. I'm confused about the environment and what I can do to help, and realized that there's lots of people out there like me who I call eco-awkward. And it's a journey where I started about 2 years ago, where I went to a beach cleanup with my children and thinking I would turn up to see large items in the area, like toilets or tires or your TVs, but I was shocked. It wasn't yes, I did see those things, but it wasn't any of those things that really shocked me. It was everyday things that I was consuming. And it was the kids' chippy packets in my kids' lunch boxes, the drink bottles, caps, or birthday, things that you do for birthday parties, straws, all these things that aren't great that go into our waterways that are then eaten up by our marine life, as they're broken down into tiny, tiny microplastics. And that was pretty shocking to me. And I still, believe it or not, I knew that I was contributing to the problem, but I didn't actually realize how much I was contributing to the problem. And we afterwards, we were lucky enough to be part of the audit. So the scientists lay out on, they take the stuff away from the beach, and they lay out and they do a count of every single item and classify it. So we understand what our waste is, and they do an amazing job. And in that audit, I realized, well, if I audited my own rubbish, it would be pathetic. I'm embarrassed, I'm completely embarrassed about what's in my rubbish. And I had this moment of realization that not only as an everyday person, my consumption had just got out of hand, that it was impacting the environment, but also was why haven't I changed? Why haven't I changed my habits? I know that the information is out there. I've seen the impact. Why haven't I changed? And what made it profoundly worse was I am in advertising. I've been in it all my life. I've And what I do every day is help change habits, people's habits, and possibly even contributed to the consumption lifestyle. So, for my sins, I wanted to do something and change. And what I found was essentially that some of the advertising and marketing principles that I know on how to change behavior could be applied to help change people's behavior and actually help the planet. So I created, I think when I spoke to you 6, but I've now got 7 ways we could help the planet with its marketing. And I'll go through those sort of ways with you soon, but I really, it wasn't for me the realization, one day I just woke up and went, okay, I'm going to see what I can do to make eco easy. And it was just like that. I'd realized it's actually inside all of us, especially New Zealanders and Kiwis. So I was born in Colombia, but I came to New Zealand when I was 7, and I realized there weren't any other Colombian little Latino brown girls. And so I wanted to really fit in. And so the only way I could really fit in was talk like a Kiwi. So I really have a strong Kiwi accent, and I've traveled the world and worked overseas and worked in Asia and in London, and I have not been able to shake the accent. And even when I go back to Colombia, I've only been back twice. My Spanish sounds like a foreigner speaking Spanish. So I realized, being raised as a Kiwi, we have this really, really strong sense of, keeping New Zealand beautiful. And in the 80s, we had this campaign, Be a Tidy Kiwi. And we've always, we were raised with, you put your rubbish, if you're out and outside, you put your rubbish in a rubbish bin, right? And it's something that's always stayed in with me. It's just been really courteous to your environment. And over time, it's sort of, it got lost. But I remember once when we were in London, and we had, our little girl was 3 at the time, and our boy was 7, and we were at the park, one of those beautiful London days where everyone goes to the park. And we're having a picnic, and we're just enjoying the park. And my kids noticed some rubbish, and so they started picking it up. And we were trying to find a rubbish bin, and it's very hard to find rubbish bins in parks in London. And these little toddler, and a 7-year-old, and they got a handful of rubbish. And this lovely couple came up to us and said, "Are you New Zealanders?" And we looked at our clothing. Did we have some sort of Kiwi as t-shirts, or, and we said, yes. How do you know? And this couple said, well, only Kiwis pick up rubbish.
Oh, man.
And it's so true. It's so in us. And we've just sometimes forgotten that, and forgotten actually what the meaning of that is. And we've lost our way a little bit. And so I'm hoping with this idea of how helping the planet with its marketing, and talking to people like yourself who are already heavily involved in helping us change our habits. How can I help you guys see or understand some of the principles in advertising and marketing so we can actually get more people on board? Because the truth is, Brian, it is really polarizing. We do, we've got this, it's like a very extreme continuum of, on one side, of people that are very invested in helping the planet. And then you've got the light, absolutely faint green on the other side, who want to do the right thing, but just don't know how, and feel quite, the word, feel very isolated, or you're not good enough to hang out with the dedicated, the extreme, the ones that are doing all the hard work.
Yeah.
And there is a little bit of eco shaming that happens.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want that, because if you push people away and you don't make them feel good enough, they're not going to join your cause.
Yeah.
Right? They're gonna get defensive. They're gonna deny. They're going to do everything they can. They're going to dig their heels into the ground and substantiate their behavior for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right?
Mm.
So we have to get people closer to us. And one way, we do that is, and that's why I've started Make Eco Easy, is a community where you feel, the tone is very positive. It's encouraging. It's about the joy and what we're doing and having and trying to get an eco lifestyle. It's none of this finger wagging. It's nothing like that. It's not, anyone's, or I'm better than you because I've been doing this for 10 years, or, it's nothing like that at all. It's a very, very honest journey. And I'm putting myself at the head of that, about where I've come from, what I'm learning, and how I'm trying, and come on board because I'm having lots of fun.
Yeah.
And that's how you get people to change your behavior, right? Because no one wants to hang out with a doomsdayer or negative Nelly or confused Clara. And I started with these principles.
Before you get to the principles, Lina, I just wanted to say I really, with my own journey and with what we're doing with conscious action, I think that it's really, really important, this aspect that you were just saying, that everybody's in a different place and where they are now, and having that compassion and having that understanding that yes, we're all in this together, yet we're all in different places. How do we get to each of us to understand that the same, like, let's come together, let's help each other out, let's not point fingers, because as you were saying, for me, and this is my belief, I believe that everyone is a nice, caring, kind human being. We just being conditioned to do things the way that we've done it. And as you say, like, what people know, they will do. And this is one of the things that I know, especially here in New Zealand, but in other places. Like here in New Zealand, people are proud of the environment, and people are proud of it being like that 100% pure New Zealand, even though that's not actually true. But what people know, they are proud of it. They are doing what they've been taught to do. So most people do that. Most people do put the rubbish out or pick up the rubbish, or like I go to the beach here, and it surprised me that people actually, whatever they brought, they take it with them. Like that's in Argentina or in other places in the world, that doesn't happen. People just, throw whatever it is in different places, but because that's the way that's been done there. It's not because they don't care. And I think that it's this, if more people were told in a way that makes it easy for them and it doesn't alienate them, to be like, hey, like, did you know that when this is happening, then that happens? Or did you know that when this happens, then that happens? Because that's the thing, that for a lot of people, we have this out of sight, out of mind. And that is what I think that needs to change, and why when you were sharing these principles at one of our last events, that it was so powerful, because I think that this is one of the ways to use the tools, as you were saying, that you have as a marketer and advertiser, to be able to do this for the earth. So saying that, I want to throw it to you so that you can share with us what those principles are.
And just before I get into this, I just want to say something that I learned from you out of our last catch up is when I talk about how, these 7 ways to help the planet do its marketing. One thing that you added in there that I never had, and I want everyone to hear these principles, but see it through this lens: the importance of action. I am so humbled at how you reminded me, and I just really, really encourage people to see these 7 ways to help the planet with its marketing is what you can do about it. Because I absolutely start from the point of empathy, where people aren't, they don't wake up in the morning and go, oh, how can I do more damage to the planet? Nobody does that. Their life is just busy, and it's just too much to, everyday life, on top of, oh my gosh, how am I going to, help out the planet? And so really, these principles are just to get us thinking and how we can change. So shall I kick off into the first principle?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so what I'm saying is make the problem from afar a close affair. Okay, so what happens is that we can't control what's happening outside the world. It can be so overwhelming, and so you tune it off, right? It's just like, oh, I can't do the climate change, it's all the stuff that's happening, it's out there, but it's and so it's your natural way of tuning it off. But what we need to do is actually get people to see it, that it's happening in their own backyard. Okay, because nothing hurts more than rubbish that's been dumped in our own backyard, and seeing the effects on it, and the effects on the food that you're eating and where your children play. And when we start talking about what's happening in our own backyard, in your own suburb, in your own community, in your own area, like, beach cleanups, seeing the results of that actually gets, and it can help people to wake up. Okay, so that's why I say the first thing we can start doing is make the problem from afar a close affair. Talk about what's happening in our own backyard. Yeah, and the other one that I say is make the intangible tangible. So again, we're funny creatures, humans. Okay, if you can't see it, it's not there, right? It's like peekaboo, right? Peekaboo, it's like I've got my hands over my face, so I can't see it, even though you're right there, right? So, how do we, to make people care, you have to bring it in the eyesight, in the line of vision. That's a way, that's another way people start to believe and understand and relate. So if for me, like I think, I spoke to you earlier, that can't go back moment, that realization, oh my goodness, I am part of the problem. For me, it was doing that beach audit. And I also got one of the guests at the event that you and I were at also had a brilliant idea and said, have you, we do, you see it at schools, but why don't you get the family together and dump your rubbish with a tarpaulin, obviously, and do an audit on your own rubbish and do that for a month. If you can't do a beach cleanup, you'll be amazed at how many, meat packet polystyrene packs that you have. You'll be amazed at how much packaging you actually have in your rubbish. And it's really good. It's really good. And kids learn from this. I mean, if they haven't already done it at school, adults learn from this. So, make the intangible tangible wherever you are, because your brain will register that every time you go and pick up something. Do I really need that with that packaging?
Yes, and that one that one, Lina, is such an important one for me, at least a lot, because I work so much as well in the space of well-being. And there's so many intangibles in that space. And whenever I need to share them with a lot of people, what are the benefits when you do, the practice, especially in something that is like meditation, like sitting meditation. And a lot of times, people think I'm just wasting my time, or like it's just nice for that moment. But it's like, okay, I need to put it into something that brings it into their everyday life. Like, how does it relate to them, as you're saying, like just making it more tangible, of saying like, oh, well, your work will be better, your focus will be better, your energy levels will be better. Like it's not about the meditation itself, it's about all of that. So yeah, making tangible the intangible it's really positive.
Yeah, I worked, I'll give you an analogy. I worked on a pretty big brands of toothpaste, and one of the toothpaste was for gum health, right? And people are conditioned, oh, it's got to have fluoride and it's got to be minty, and therefore it's, it's not kind of toothpaste. And therapeutic toothpastes, it's sort of very niche, right? Or niche, as they say in other parts of the world. And one of the ways that we were able to penetrate and get people to understand the value of gum-based toothpaste is because it's got high baking soda, so it's very different texture, and people, again, you're conditioned to what right? One of the ways we're able to penetrate in multiple markets, in multiple language, was to educate them to look for the signs, a visible sign, a tangible sign. And what's that? Every time you brush your teeth and you spit out blood, it's a sign that you may have gum disease, right? And that's how people went, oh, actually, I might have gum disease. Oh, I might need a gum-based toothpaste that has, and accept that it's a different texture and a different flavor and that. But, we could tell them gum, you need a gum-based toothpaste, you need a gum-based gum disease, that prevents gum disease toothpaste. And they wouldn't believe us, but it wasn't until we were like, you had to educate them on the signs. So same principle in the wellness industry, same principle in trying to get more people to go from eco-awkward to being eco-abled, is we have to make it tangible. And to get people on that journey from being very, very light green, for me personally, I can say that tangibility started with looking at my rubbish. Or, everyone, it might be different, but that actually makes a huge difference, because, that's what goes into landfills. So the other one that other way that I think we can help the planet with its marketing is make the old and ugly desirable. And this sounds really strange, but, I get super excited about upcycling, recycling, reusing, redoing, because it's actually going back to a craft. It's learning again how, I've taken up sewing again. I've learned how to bought a sewing machine, went to sewing lessons so I can, mend. Most of my wardrobe is 90% recycled clothing. And I found an old chair, a vintage chair, and I got it refurbished. But what is actually exciting about that is the transformation and the skill set and the being reliant on yourself and to do something. And what happens is humans love this. Humans love transformation, okay? And people and craft, right? And you think about it like TV shows. This is the format of TV shows and entertainment. Like the UK show 10 Years Younger, where they take someone who's probably not looking at the best in their lives, and then they transform them with makeup and wardrobe and, get their teeth done and all that, and then they take them to the streets and ask them how old they are, and people will say they're 10 years younger, and everyone goes, wow. It's that transformation, but it's that joy in the making and the transformation that gets people excited and think about, oh, well, I'm actually doing something that makes me feel good, but I'm actually doing something that is good for the planet. And those are the conversations and the content and all the wonderful stuff that we need to be getting out there for people to go, I want to get on that train. I want to be part of that. And I think there's just not enough of that joy in making and doing that will get, out there. And then once we get more of that out there, people will go, hey, you know what? Maybe I do actually want to make this as part of my life, this lifestyle.
And this is such a big one, because I do think that it wasn't that like long ago that a lot of people had those skills of sewing and repairing and being able to mend things. And now most people, like you just get perhaps in here, like on a shirt or in a jersey, like a hole, and say, oh, well, that's it, like there's a hole, and it's like, well, no, it's just sew it or mend it, that's it, like it's still usable. But as well, it's, as you're saying, like being able to be creative as well, because it's that side of it is doing something by yourself. It's that journey. And one of the things that I know that, and I think that based on when you shared this last time, that I know that even though I'm not so much of a big user of social media, but I haven't shared that side of things. Like I've shared like kind of like my end result, in a sense. It's like, oh, well, like here is this or here is that, instead of being able to share that entire transformation journey. That is what people can relate to, because if people, as you're saying that before, if people see like, oh, like Brian with his little like chart of rubbish, and like that's impossible or whatever, and it's like, well, no, like because I've done all of this, but people didn't see all of that. So when people don't see that, as you're saying, we start to get that polarization, which won't help at the end of the day.
That is right. And, and the key thing here is action as well. And this is, I know this is your zone of genius and your cup of tea, but, people would go, oh, our parents used to sew, people used to mend, everyone used to bake, and, we, and then just shrug your shoulders. Right. And no, I'm going to go and buy a sewing machine. I don't have someone to teach me. I'm going to go and get a sewing machine. I walked into a fabric store and said, do you have sewing classes? And they said, yep. And I started sewing classes before lockdown. And now that lockdown's kicked in, I've got all this fabric left over from my chair that I did. And I've got elastic, and I've been making masks, and I've taught, and I'm actually trying to figure out how to mend my socks. But it's the action. And if I can do it, and I am the most incompetent, mending person in the world, you can too. Do and I think that's the enthusiasm that we need to remind ourselves. But the more important, the thing is, the joy that I am getting from fixing stuff, it's that purpose. I think because we don't have those crafts anymore, we've lost them. We lose purpose, and it's so. And the kids are watching. Mama run the business, mama sewing. Papa's baking, because we've now removed. No, we don't buy any biscuits from supermarket, any packaging. So Papa bakes every second day for lunches. He makes sourdough bread, and they see this. And that is the messages that we want them to see and hear. So this one for me it's a massive one. And I say make the old and ugly desirable. But it's really a transformation one. It's really like, live that transformation, take up skills and things that, that might challenge you, but are actually really rewarding and rewarding for your soul, but rewarding for the planet too. The other one that I talk about a little bit about is take the big and make it small, right? So, I just feel that at the moment, there is COVID, not COVID, well, there is that too, but there is just so much overwhelming information and issues about the climate, the planet, and it just feels like you can't do anything about it. And so you just, you have a choice, and some people, start to go on an eco journey. Some people just like, well, what's the point? It's too big of a problem. I can't do anything. Or the skeptics sort of leverage the situation as such and say, oh, well, EV vehicles, what are you going to do with the batteries? And there's this one guy who created some fake news, which I told you about, who said, oh, now there's EV graveyards in France, and because we don't know what, we can't get rid of the batteries, and in fact it wasn't a graveyard, it was a rental company, and the batteries had been taken out, and this whole fake news had been debunked. But the point being, it just feels so big. People either react differently, and this is how this guy has reacted. And I normally, when I see stuff like that, because you do get a lot of skepticism, because people have to defend where they've come from, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always my approach to that is just and people say, oh, but what's the point of doing it? I mean, like those beach cleanups, or what's the point of that? You can't make a difference. Well, I always say when I hear information that I think is fake news, I always, quietly with a smile on my face, I always ask them, oh, well, tell me your source, and because there is a lot of misinformation out there. And if people don't feel comfortable with that, I always say, look, it's not about, going back to the EV example, for me, it's not about getting everyone into an EV or, try and get people to ride bikes only, okay? For me personally, and this is what I hope everyone starts to think, it's about making a better choice tomorrow on, say, your, a more environmentally car than you were making yesterday. And what I mean by that is, hey, a hybrid might be, a better choice for you. It doesn't have to be an EV, or, it might be, biking to work. One family member bikes to work. Whatever it is that you do tomorrow, try and make it better than it was yesterday, the decisions that you're making yesterday. And that's what I really mean about, just don't try and eat the whole elephant. It's just the small chunks, and the small things. And then that means that it gives people an out who are just like, oh, we can't do anything. It's like, yeah, actually you can. And the other aspect around this is take the big and make it small. And there was another speaker in the same day of our event. He said something that was profoundly, for me, it had such a big impact. He said, in terms of if you want to create change, you can actually be that one person who starts changing your behavior. And that one person starts influencing their family and friends. And those family and friends start influencing their community. And that community starts influencing businesses, governments. So making that small change and you being that one person, that is the huge amount of influence you have. Mm-hmm. And that to me is really enlightening. When he said that, I was just like, oh my goodness. it's really important that we take the big and make it small.
That's the ripple effect.
Yeah. This one's quite a funny one. I like this principle of how we can help the planet with its marketing. It's called in advertising, we have this thing called WIFM, what's in it for me. So we always, when we get a brief, we always, when the marketers give us a brief, we always go, okay, well, you've got this product, but what is the emotional benefit, or what's in it for people, what's in it for them? And I always say and this has been the planet's problem, because the planet can't offer you a 10% discount on first purchase, right? The planet can't offer you a money back guarantee, right, on this life or other lives, depending on what you believe, if you come back, right? It can't do that. So it's got to, how can we have a what's in it for me joy, right? That people go, hey, if I look after the planet, this is what I get out of it, because we're selfish. Humans, you look after your own self-interest first, right? So, there are some really decent human beings out there. I honestly believe this, and that generally their modus operandi is to look out for the community and the greater good, right? And I love those people, and Brian, you are one of them, okay? But there's not that many. I think most people, and we know this in advertising, we know that most people have a self-interest, and it's mostly ego-based, right? So for me, I say, well, what the planet can offer you, or what's in it for me, is there's actually lots of things that we talked about it already. The creativity and the joy that you get from upcycling, that's a really, really big benefit, personal benefit for me, right? And it's just in the kids, and seeing the kids, and my daughter yesterday was painting. We get food delivery boxes, and we can't return them, and so she picked them up and thought, oh, these would be great canvases for my art. So she's painting on there. And that's obviously something that I want to share with people. It's just the joy of upcycling. That's a what's in it for me factor. Another one that my husband absolutely loves, this gets my husband truly excited, is the money saving savviness that you get. So it's I used to buy a lot of health and beauty products, and now I make my own soap. I make my own shampoo bars and conditioning bars. So we're spending so much less in those areas. And he loves it. And that's something that, what's in it for me? He saves money. It's, and so I think these are all what we call emotional payoffs, that we need to be reminding people that those emotional personal payoffs are paying off too, and helping the planet. And there's lots of really awesome groups and people who can, that you can get involved with. So there's a sense of community and fun. You can go and learn on how to upcycle furniture. So that's, you're learning, and that's skill. And again, that's another what's in it for me factor. Taking up new skills, like I told you about sewing. So what's in it for me is a really, really important one. And I think that's why, I know, Brian, you don't like social media and you don't put it out there, but we really need more people like you sharing the joys of what you're getting out of it, because the planet can't do it. The planet can't offer a money back guarantee. They don't, they can't, we have to be that voice for the planet. The other one that I've added in here is the KISS principle. Keep it simple, but let's just remove the S.
We can say the stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. Come on.
Keep it simple, stupid. I need to clap here. We have done a really good job of confusing the hell out of people. Okay. We've got scientists that contradict each other. We've got media that just constantly telling you how bad the situation is, how big the situation is. And there's never a solution, there's never, so what can I do? If you do want to find out, or you do when you have to navigate websites, community pages, find these people. And then if you do take the time to do that out of your extraordinarily busy life, it's conflict of information. What do I do with that? How do I, or my local area does, rubbish is different. I spoke to so-and-so and they said this. There's not one place or people that you can actually help you decipher between all this information. And it's simple things like, when you, unfortunately, when you read in the newspaper and someone has passed away from, suicide or something. Now the media do a really, really good job at the bottom to say, if you need help, and they have a set of numbers, right? I think we should do that for the environment. I think there should be a, it's raining, plastics article. And at the end, here are the places that you can do. Here are the beach cleanups. Here are the organizations that are helping you. We need everything to keep it simple for us. Okay. Yeah. And I think scientists have a responsibility to go, yes, this is the facts, but this is something you can do. And in the recent climate report, everyone was talking about how, it's just, too big and we can't do it. But if you actually read it, there was a large section on what we can do, the action we can take, but it was too complicated and we're lazy. So we need to find ways to keep it simple. And, because people, our brains cannot handle too much information. Okay. Now I'm going to give you an example that we do this in advertising, and it will blow your mind away. Okay. That as humans, this is why we cannot handle too much information. So in advertising, we have these things called a shopper advertising principle. So when you go to the supermarket, okay, we know that you have a list and we have to break your shopping list. Okay. And break your habit. And that means, one way you do it is when you go in there's lots of little signs that say discount or whatever the things might be, but we can't be on price all the time. So we know that the opportunities to stop you and break you from disrupt your habit is we have the last 3 feet. So the last 3 before you get to the aisle, how do we get your attention? Okay. We create what we call point of sale material in there. So to get your attention. And we know we have 3 seconds. 3 seconds. Okay. So we know that in those 3 seconds, we use strategies to capture your attention for 3 seconds. Okay. And that might be through visual, through color, through using people eyes and simple language, sound bites, no more, and then to try and interrupt your habits. Okay. So based on that, the planet's got no chance if we are complicating the information, contradicting. People just want to be told what to do. Tell me how I can do it. And that's why I created Make Eco Easy. It's like, where do I start? Where do I go? Who can I talk to? What do I do? And that's, to me, the KISS principle is even the people who are at the forefront of, helping change people's behavior, like yourself, and just say be very, very, very conscious of how you may be contributing to complicating it. Okay. Yes. And, there's a couple of times I sit with people who are hardcore, what people would call environmentalists, and they argue amongst themselves. And I'm like, and I said this to you, Brian, stop it like a mother. Arguing amongst yourselves is not helping, okay? What you need to do is take a big problem and make it small. How can we help people keep it simple? How can we help them to make a decision? Do I choose, okay, a bottled beer or an aluminium canned beer? Here are the considerations. Actually, I might be better off with a can, right? Mm-hmm. Or do I get milk that from a plastic container that has white pigmentation, or clear bottle of milk, or glass? Well, if you can't get glass, believe it or not, the clear bottle of milk is better option, because it's very, very hard to get rid of plastic that's got pigmentation on it. So those little things like that help so much to keep it simple, right? So that's my penultimate tip. My last one is obviously make eco easy. Bins are lazy. I just say, when you're going back to my rubbish bin, for example, I was just being lazy, right? I didn't know. I had, and now you can go up to some rubbish bin places and it's color coded and they've got signs and they make it so easy for eco awkward people like myself now, that it encourages me to consistently change my behavior. Mm-hmm. And that's why that's the other thing is, once people go past that journey of realization that they are eco-awkward and they start doing a little bit every day and a little bit every day, it helps if there's lots of signaling and design and conversations and tips that help make eco easy, right?
Yes. And that's something that, like a lot of times I talk about caring versus convenience. And we need to get more convenient things to be the ones that are doing the right thing for the planet, as you're saying. Like if you have, really well signed information, it's easy for people. And if that helps, like this is why I love places, for example, like Goodford. Like I can go there, I can see really well, like their signage is really well done, so that I can see, okay, like, and this is convenient. Of course, it's not something for everyone, like going to a place like that, but it's how it starts, making those convenient things like the positive for the earth.
Exactly. And like you say, Brian, you say, look, the journey is about the choices that we can make, right? And alternatives. Mm-hmm. And, so when I spoke to you guys, we were still going to the supermarket. I mean, I've got a veggie that I don't have a veggie garden in my actual property because I can't garden, but I now have something delivered to my house every month. It's a self-watering garden and I get it delivered, and that's how I, get around packaging on my veggies, right? Not everyone has that option. But it doesn't mean though that I can't do something. There's other alternatives, like you say, and going back to the source, and how do we is it growing a little pots of herbs? Is it like there's ways that we can get thinking about ways that we can find alternatives, because we have too many people in the light green spectrum. And our job, or I feel like my purpose, is how do I help people move along that spectrum? And so there is more of us getting living an eco-able life regularly without even having to think about it. It just is.
Yes, so amazing, and I suggest to everyone that is listening to go and search more of this, and hopefully at Make Eco Easy you find a way to make it more simple for you, and so that you're able to actually take these steps, and this is what we're all about, as you were saying, with conscious action. We want to raise awareness, but then we want people to take action. It's an important aspect of it. If I just know the information and don't do anything, nothing changes. But if I know the information and then I take action, whether it's a small or big thing, then I can actually create that change. So where can people find you, Lina, online, so if they want to know more about Make Eco Easy?
Well, actually, I have a community on Facebook, Make Eco Easy. On Insta, I have 2 handles, Eco Awkward and Make Eco Easy. And I have a website that's only gone up, I think, a month, called makeecoeasy.com. And what I'm doing there is I've found in my journey some amazing businesses that created sustainable products. Like I was talking, my delivery at home, organic at home. And I asked everyone who has a business, how can you make eco easy? And they, so I'm creating my journeys and using the products and telling their stories, and they provide promo codes in there so people can get on the journey. So I'm trying to build that up at the moment, and that would really help as well. I love putting the spotlight on these people who I call them eco rock stars. So that's that I'm trying to build more of a directory that can help more people start an eco easy life. And lots of conversations, support each other with people's journeys. It's a safe place to out yourself about some of your habits as well on our community and on our chats, and celebrate some of the transformations that you're making and the joys that you're discovering. And in that way, the more people we get having positive conversations and ideations, the more people will start leading those eco life.
Yeah, so wonderful. And thank you so much, Lina, for taking the time being here and for sharing with us. And I hope that everybody listening took something away from this, and we're going to try to implement this marketing plan for the earth. And for everyone listening, I would love to know what has been your eco-awkward moment and what have you learned from it. So let us know on the comments whenever you see this episode. Thank you so much, Lina, once again. I hope that we can continue having these wonderful conversations and seeing the changes that happen. For everyone else listening, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
What did you like the most about this episode? Take a moment to think about what change you can make in your life today.
Share your conscious action on social media using #ConsciousAction and tagging @ConsciousActionNZ so we can celebrate your impact on the world and create a ripple effect.
One easy action we would love for you to take right now is to share, like, and subscribe to this podcast. This will help us get these messages out into the world and inspire more people to take conscious action in their own lives, contributing to the better world we hope for.